Hello and welcome to another episode of Legion by the Numbers. My name is Joe Eames, and in this episode we are going to be comparing the Phase 2 Clone Troopers Z6 to the Phase 1 Clone Troopers Z6. The Z6 unit is one of those units that you need to give targeting scopes and you need to give them aim tokens. If you're not doing that, then there are better choices. So if you've built your army such that token sharing is a reasonable thing and generating aims is something you're possibly going to be doing, then the next question is, which of the two units should you take, the Phase 2 or the Phase 1 Clone Troopers? So we're going to try to answer that question. Again, quick note, please be sure to like and subscribe the video if you like this sort of content. Leave a comment, let me know what other kinds of videos, what other analyses you'd like to see. And let me know if I missed anything that you'd like to have covered, or if I got anything wrong. So let's go ahead and outfit our two troops that we're going to compare. Phase 2, of course, going with the Z6. We're just going to go with regular old clone trooper. For training, offensive push, because we want those aims as much as we can get them. And then the targeting scopes, got to have the targeting scopes. Same thing down here, we got to start the targeting scopes, the Phase 1 clone trooper, and the Z6. Pretty straightforward. We're looking at 89 points and 110 points. So kind of a big difference. Outside of everything else that they do, the only real noticeable difference is the morale. The Phase 2 clone troopers have a morale of 2. They also have potentially more defense because of that reliable one, that surge token that they could use for defense. So there's a couple of differences between those two units that can make the Phase 1 a more compelling. But let's look points-wise, as far as doing damage, which one does better damage per point. So let's start with we're going to go with the Phase 1 first off, 89 points, 5 black, 6 white. It's precise 1, and that's pretty much it. Again, we're going to assume it always has 1 aim token to benefit that precise 1. Let's go with something more reasonable. Let's look at maybe a couple of scenarios. White surge to block, and let's say heavy. You shoot a lot of things that are, in my opinion, my experience, you shoot a lot of things in heavy cover. So white surge to block in heavy cover. They're doing 2.39. Now let's flip over to the Phase 2. So the Phase 2s are 110 points. They do have the same dice. Still they got that precise 1, but they also have the surge token. We're leaving them with that 1 aim token. Arguably, these guys have an easier time getting a second aim because of the that offensive push. Now, really to kind of counter that, offensive push is tappable, so you may only use it once per game. Well, you can switch over your Phase 1 Clone Trooper to the Phase 1 Specialist. If you've watched some of my previous videos, you'll notice that I really like the Phase 1 Specialist because you can once a game get that aim dodge because it's a tap, you know. You might get a chance to recover and get it multiple times. You do get the other gear slot. You don't have to take a gear, unlike the Comm Trooper. And so, you know, if you want, you can throw in a recon intel to get them, if you need to, more into range. But if you do that, it's 90 points, so a slight difference, but that still gets you about the same chances of getting those aim tokens. So if we do that and go to our Z6, we're going to be at 90 points. Everything else is the same. 90 points, 5 black, 6 white, still the precise 1. We did this at 89, so let's do this again at 90. And reset this. 37.2 goes to 37.7. All right, now we're going to go to the Phase 2. Phase 2 is 110. And we have the surge token we also added. And if we look at the damage there, 2.74, so a bit more damage. But notice that the efficiency is actually worse. That surge token is a big thing, and it really does help out. Notice that our mischance went down a little bit, but the chance of doing no damage is really low with throwing out all these dice against a white surge to block in heavy cover. If we go to red and let's go to our Phase 1s and go to red. So shooting at a red, and we're at 1.79. And for the Phase 2s, we got 2.07. So again, a little bit more damage, but notice the efficiency is still worse. So you are paying for they're not a better unit when it just comes to offensive output. Now, they have the surge token, and then they have the extra morale. So is that worth the extra points? We're talking 20 points difference, 90 to 110. But they also have more damage. So when you look at points per hit, points per damage that they do, they're close. A little bit worse, but close. When you take that into account, it makes it a little bit more compelling to use the phase 2s instead of the phase 1s. Because that surge, if you end up not using it in an offensive shot, or maybe you get shot early on in the round before you go, and you have that surge available to you, well, now there's a much better chance that you're going to take a block. For example, we just saw that the phase 2s shooting at a red with no surge in heavy cover, on average, are going to do 2.07 points of damage. But what if you were actually shooting at phase 2s that also had that surge token? You're shooting first, they haven't had a chance to spend their surge token, but they have that one surge token. Well, what does your average damage get? How does that affect it? Look at that, it drops it by about a half a point on average per shot. So a lot more defensible. It also makes the cost per hit go up a lot more, just having that one surge token. So counting for all those things, I think I've heard that in the meta, it's a lot more popular now to stick with the phase 1s. But I think that if you look at this, there's a pretty compelling case to be made that because of between the morale and that extra surge token that you can also share, right? You can also be sharing surge tokens. You might actually get 2 surge tokens on defense or 2 surge tokens on offense. Honestly, the additional surge token doesn't really do as much. Let's look at, let's go back to no surge tokens here. Just shooting at something that's red in heavy cover. And remember, we were at 2.07, 2.06. What if we had 2 surge tokens instead of 1? On average, that's not going to change too much. It barely changes it. But remember, you wouldn't spend that second surge token unless you actually needed it. If you rolled 2 surges on an attack die, then it actually makes a huge difference. That's one of the places where the dice simulator kind of leads us astray. It implies that it really does very little difference. But if you're pulling a surge token from a neighboring unit and only pulling it if you need it, then it's actually a lot more valuable than it seems. And having it on defense, somebody shoots into you and you got that one surge token. It's almost really like shooting at something that has red surge to block. Makes a pretty big difference there. So there you go. There's a comparison of the phase 1 and phase 2 Z6s and their damage. Hope you liked the video. Be sure to hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you in another episode.